Okay, hello. It's getting close to 1 a.m. I don't know why I'm doing this now. I just wanted to get it over with. So I'm just gonna do it now. Oh, let me replace this. Um, let's see. Where was the source? I totally forgot to prepare this beforehand. I thought I was already ready, but no, I am not. Sorry, I'm just grabbing the source of this comic. どこに行ったっけ？見つけれん。はあ。はいはい、ありました。見つけました。あら、見逃した。あったあったあった。これこれ。これですね。そうそう、これこれ。これを、翻訳してみました。でも日本語、クラスの授業に使ったので、これを、翻訳する挑戦するために、人たちにあげたんですけど、2人しか挑戦しなくて、あんまり面白くなかったかな。That said, I think that the two people that did it did pretty well. And I had, 個人的にはね、面白かったけど、これ、翻訳するの。ちょっと話してみようと思います。ということで、これは、ルシアと、彼女の名前だったっけ？なんとかミト。覚えてねえわ。ルシアとミトの、アモンガスのゲームでの出会いの話ということです。でこれ2ページしかないので、まあ簡単かなと思ったんだけど、まあ、じっくり見たらね、思ったよりとむずいかったな。引っかかるところが多いんだよね、ここ。So, essentially, sorry, my brain is functioning at like 80% capacity right now because it's so late. Essentially, this is an Among Us game, kind of a situation or something that happened in an Among Us game between Mito and Rusia. I don't remember what her name was, her full name. But yeah, Rusia and Mito. And it's the first time that she's talking to her. So they're in the they got ejected, and then she's talking to her. She's nervous, and then she says, "Ooh, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan." Um, but she's being awkward AF, and she's like, "The heck am I doing?" シオン可愛いよね。And then just page two is about her being more awkward, but then they work together, and then they manage to do well in the game. And then she says, "That was fun." Yes, very very heartwarming, very simple, or so you think. これがね、時々引っかかるところが、ここの部分とか、これも引っかかったよね。で、自分もこれで引っかかったんだよ。共に。質も共に。これがちょっとややこしかったんだよね。それぐらいだけかな。で、院長の最後に挨拶で言う、これも。ということで、 Anyways, I'm just going to go through this. What I've done is I have the transcription and I have even the furigana for those of you who can't uh, read the kanji like me. 音読みとかなんだ、訓読みで読めないのが多いすぎてね、意味が分かっても。例えば、怪しまれつもともにって、見たら意味が分かるけど、怪しなんかほとんど使わないじゃん。で、恐怖っていうので使うって分かってるし、これは、horror とか scare っていう意味とか分かってるけど、読み方は分からん。Anyways, that's a little bit of an aside, but ということで、始めようと思います。Yes, 月の実と。そうそうそうそう。That's our full name. Uh, don't brains usually operate at like 10% capacity? I guess that's true. I guess my brain is operating at like 7%ぐらい。Anyways. Oh no, this is a legit class. So for those who don't know, oh, I forgot to change my banner. Uh, right. Let me uh uh let me get this. There you go. So it's not like you'll be able to type that out anyways, but or maybe I should write a Mitorushi. Okay. What was I saying? Yeah, this is a real legitimate class. In Aonahara Translations, we run a Japanese class, and there's actually a couple of teachers. In season 1, I was teaching mostly using reading and pronunciation. Season 2, I died, but I decided to assign homework to people. They're called side quests. So I assigned 3 different levels of difficulty for these comics for people to translate, which I thought would be interesting. なんでこれまた出てきたのかな? Hold on, sorry. ちょっとこれ全然 it's totally not a part of what I was gonna do, but let me just delete this. It's so annoying. あら、あら。Okay. What was I saying? Right. There were 3 different levels of comics that I gave: beginner, medium, and advanced. This is the advanced one. Only 2 people decided to do the advanced one. I reviewed the entries for the other 2 in a previous live stream, which I think is still on my channel. You can look at it if you like afterwards. I went pretty deep into the medium level one, and I think that for this one I'll probably go pretty deep in it as well. Just want to preface with the fact that I am just one translator and I'm not the best. There's plenty of other translators that are far better than I am. So everything is with a grain of salt, and I don't think that I am at all the best translator ever. So I might be wrong, and in fact, I'll talk about that later here. I actually was wrong for one of the lines earlier on, and I was corrected, and that's a good thing. It's great that I get feedback. I love getting feedback. So if you're watching this and you want to cancel me, go right on ahead. You can go ahead. Yep. It's okay if you cancel me because you know, S より M だからね。Anyways, moving on. 虹ほど宇宙人狼コラボ中、早々に死んでしまったルシアは墓地で委員長と二人きりになりました。This is pretty straightforward. It's just kind of a long run-on sentence, which you often find when you're translating comics and stuff. this is definitely more of an English proofreading kind of skill rather than a translating skill. In fact, if the translator writes something like this, long like that, or well, this is actually the clean-up version, but if a translator writes a pretty long run-on sentence, I think that's fine. That's what the proofreaders are for. So a great translator, I think, will be able to proofread their own scripts, but if they can't, it's not a big problem, right? Or I don't think it is. Just gonna make this a little bigger. So this is basically a run-on sentence. Even in Japanese, this is pretty long. If you look at the original, it's split into two parts. It's still quite long. So, my first worry would be, okay, let me write this out as one sentence and see how I can split this up so that I have a little bit more here compared to here. So the first guy didn't really think about that. That's fine. It's not a big problem. It's not something that I asked for in the assignment. The second person did. During the Nijihiro Among Us collab, Rushia died immediately and found herself alone in the afterlife with Incho. In the Nijihiro Among Us collab, Rushia died early and was alone in the graveyard with Mito. So this is an interesting... there's a couple interesting choices here, right? Oh, first of all, I don't know why, but 人狼コラボ、宇宙人狼コラボって見たら、誰でもアマンガスのことかなと思うんじゃないかなと思ったんだけど、actually, the first guy didn't realize it was Among Us, so he literally wrote like space-based werewolf game or something like that, and I was like, okay, so you gotta think about that for just a little bit and think, what kind of space-based werewolf game do you know? And then he felt like an idiot. But yeah, this is a great example of when you want to use Google, trusty old Google, to see if this is a reference for something instead of trying to translate it literally. Research. I'm gonna turn on my heater. It's cold. Another one that I thought was interesting was incho, right? So what do you do with incho? Do you translate it to mito? Do you keep it as incho? Do you translate it as like class president? That's what it means, class president. But incho is a very specific term that's only used for literally school class president, right? So there's a couple of factors there. First of all, school class president or class president is very, very long, right? So it's gonna add a much longer, it's gonna add like basically from here to here, right? In terms of the length of the line. So it's quite a mouthful, school class president. So I personally didn't like that, even though it's correct. So that leaves us with two things. Do we go the purest route with keeping it incho, or do we keep it as mito, or do we translate it as mito? You'll see what I wrote in a little bit, but I chose one of them. So anyways, I wanted to point those out here. Another thing is, how do you translate bochi, right? In Japanese, they call it bochi. In English, you would say was ejected, right? Because they get ejected. They don't necessarily go to the graveyard per se. I like the translation of afterlife. Graveyard is also fine. It's technically correct. ミトさんと二人きりだ。頑張っておしゃべりしなきゃ。Right? This is pretty straightforward. 頑張っておしゃべりしなきゃ might be a bit awkward to translate. This is where, casual speech starts becoming a little bit awkward when it's turned into English. So if I was not really thinking and was trying to translate as closely as possible, I might translate it as I have to do my best and speak well, right? I have to do my best to speak well. or I have to do my best. I've got to do my best to speak well. And this is actually pretty close to that. But if I wrote, I've got to do my best to speak well, nobody actually says that, right? This is a thought that Lucia has, right? But nobody says that in real life, to speak well. So you have to, proofread that a little bit. Yeah. This got a whole bunch of proofreading suggestions when I was streaming myself working on it. And then this line messed up a couple of both of the people actually. This 通学路にポスターが貼ってた話とか。Right. Yeah, this tripped up both of them. So I actually had them revise this maybe 2 or 3 times. 通学路にポスターがoh my gosh. 貼られてた話とか。貼られてた。I can't read hiragana. Yes. 個人情報とか書かれてたヤバめの話. This is also pretty hard to translate, right? When I saw this too, I was like, how would I go about translating this? So that's the next line. Right? This one is kind of hard because yabame no hanashi and then arrow here. It's a lot of information contained in a few characters that if you wrote it in English would become kind of long, like absurdly long, right? So if I didn't care about space, I might translate it something like, this was a pretty sus. Oh wait, I have my game audio on. Let me turn that off. You hear my Discord dings. Okay, so like so I would translate it something like, this was a pretty dangerous. This was a story that would have. This was a story about a situation that could have gotten really, really bad because there were personal information written on it, right? That written on the posters. That's insanely long, right? So the hard part here is being able to keep as close of a translation as possible to the original, the raw, but then make it small enough so that it's just not overly verbose. And a third issue is that because in manga, they often write the Japanese up to down. Many of the bubbles are skinny, like this one is skinny. So how do you put the English text in here, right? That's another worry that you have. So that also compels people to try to keep their lines brief or as short as possible so that they don't have to word wrap 20 times and leave the font size like 10. So that's tricky. That's tricky. These posters contain dangerous personal information. Was not a bad attempt, right? I think I did have him rewrite this once, and I actually think that this is okay. This is a lot more verbose. I don't know if I would agree with episode, but it's not a bad word. I don't actually remember what I put. It might have been episode. But yeah. それ第一声で、それ第一声でする話 It's supposed to be a root, right? Root. So this Furigana version is actually what the first person wrote. Like he literally wrote this instead of the kanji. So it's kind of annoying. Sometimes he made a mistake, but that's fine. それ第一声でする話. So this is a great example of something you can say really quickly in Japanese, briefly in Japanese, but would be something that is much longer in English. And this is often the case when you go from Japanese to English. The time that you spend saying this in English, is that the first thing you're going to talk about? Might be the same length temporally to the Japanese. それ第一声でする話, right? But the text space that you take up in written text is pretty dramatically different, right? So this is a constant issue that you have with translating for manga, actually. So I was wondering, how would you make this as brief as possible? A couple of people didn't realize what she was saying here, but anyways, or I think maybe the first guy. But this is fine. This is fine. This line was also tricky, it seems like. ルフィはだけ人狼じゃなくて、会話の糸口さが、糸口探すゲームになっている。Yeah, I can see why this would be tricky because I think that the conjugation here is tricky to grasp. 何々だけ、誰々だけ、何々じゃなくて、何々のゲームになってる。I can see where you might get confused, right? But she's basically saying, I don't know how I translated it, but I think I did proofread it a couple of times myself. Just for her, it's not just a Among Us game or she's an imposter, but it's turning into a game where she's participating and trying to keep the conversation going, right? And yeah, this did get proofread by somebody, even after I translated it, after I proofread it. I asked another guy to look at this because he wanted to, and then this was a line that he actually decided I should change. Anyways, いらっしゃいされちゃったシオン先輩かわいそうに。A very rare situation where the Japanese text is actually much shorter than the English. その後突然イケボで話しかけたり、こんばんはミトちゃん、かわいいね、地声。犯人はルシアさん。And then actually the continuation of this line, イケボで話しかけたり、怪しまれつもともに人狼をやっつけたりして、無事にコラボは終了しました。怪しまれつもともに This was the most complicated line, I think, in the whole thing. I got what it was saying, but I couldn't figure out who the subject and objects were. So I had to ask a couple of people what they thought. Because it's really vague. I think if you look at the comic itself, it becomes a little bit more clear. But still, it's actually kind of tricky to figure out here what's going on here. So I'll explain that in just a little bit. So I'm not covering every single line because I'm only covering the ones that I thought would be useful to go through. Oh, one thing is the guy in purple decided to not translate this and kind of flatten it into just these two lines, which I didn't like, but he didn't. Yeah, he just chose to do that. This is fine. So this one is also tricky. Jigoe. The reason why is because this is the only space that you have for it, right? So what do you do here? Jigoe. By her just asking jigoe, it's obviously referring to 今の声は地声なの, right? Something like that, right? But how do you if you just put real voice, like that in English, it sounds like she has turned into monkey or something, So caveman talk, essentially. So it doesn't really have the same flexibility as a Japanese. So how do you keep it grammatically correct and readable is a tricky thing to try to figure out. So these two are both, I would say, pretty good attempts. I think I might have used this. Another thing is in the raw, there's this border of ike for ikebo. I took it out. I'm not going to. I didn't bother redrawing that or having that redrawn. And also, like, if I'm gonna put it in, like, what do I do, right? Like, sexy. I don't know. I didn't think it was that important, so I think it got erased out. Yeah. So this line. 怪しまれつつともに、つもともに人狼をやっつけたりして、無事にコラボは終了しました。So this is, I think what I had originally was, and despite both of them being suspected, they were able to sniff out all the imposters, but that's not correct. It's actually 怪しまれつつも Ayashimare, the person who's being suspected is only Lucia. And you can find that out because, what was the explanation that Rast gave? So Rast actually was the person that I asked about this. So, その後突然イケボで話しかけたり, and then this is a narrator, right? And the narrator is, let me show you. Let me bring up both pages. Oops. There you go. So the narrator is always talking about Lucia and is just on her point of view, right? 死んでしまったルシアは, it's not her, definitely, because ルシアはうちで委員長と二人きりになりました。その後は突然イケボで話しかけたり、怪しまれつつも共に人狼をやっつけたりして、無事にコラボは終了しました。So because it's talking about her, and you can almost even interpret this as a continuing line, so it makes more sense for the Ayashimare to be referring to Lucia only, and I thought it was both because of the Tomoni, but the Tomoni is referring to everything that comes after, which in hindsight makes a lot more sense. Tomoni jinrou yatsuketari shite. So both of them work together to sniff out the imposters, but the one who's constantly being suspected is Lucia, right? That's why even Mito says this line, 犯人はルシアさんと思ったけど祭りさん. So that's probably a jab at that point. You know, if I watched the actual, now that I think about it, I should have just watched the actual live stream. That would have probably helped. But anyways, we figured that out. So even though she was being suspected, right? So it's just Lucia, but then they were together working to defeat the imposter, or to find the imposter, or to sniff out the imposter. So that's how this line would happen, and I think people both, actually the purple guy didn't have much trouble with it, but I definitely did. So yeah, it happens. That's okay. よかった。最後はゲームでちゃんと勝てて、でもミトさんともうちょっとうまく喋りたかったな。So this is another line that trips up some people, it seems like. もうちょっとうまく喋りたかったな。Maybe this is a conjugation issue as well, that it's hard to understand the conjugation, but 何々やりたかったな means that there's some longing, right? want of something that could have went differently, right? Yeah, so if I was to literally translate this word for word, but I wanted to speak better, well, together with Mito-san. So and then もうちょっとだったから um, you could even add like a little bit better, right? Yeah, for some reason this line got tripped up. People tripped up on this line a lot, where they have completely different tenses or meanings. I'm not so sure why, but there you go. Chakuseki, so the chakuseki here was something that went through a couple of revisions. I think one suggestion was you are dismissed. You can take your seats now. Please sit down in your seats. Stuff like that. But in actuality, it's so short, right? Here, here, here. Oh, of course, here. So because of that, I was trying to find a good short phrase, right? I think I went for take a seat as well. But I thought take your seats is good enough. It's not that many more characters. Sorry, I am getting really tired. Incho's end greeting or what Mito says before ending her stream. I think both of these are okay. Considering that, well, this is very skinny, but it could fit. Anyways, this line was tricky for both of them too, which is Rushiamo Chakuseki here, or not here. Here, right? And I get it because this isn't easy to shorten in English. The equivalent would be like, I guess I'll also say this too, and then she says it. So fully describe the intent is essentially what that would be. Yeah, I don't know if it's that necessary to try to localize it in this way. But yeah. Okay, moving on. Okay, I think that's basically it. The 嬉しいねなんか and then いいですね嬉しいね I mean, like in the Japanese, the repetition of ureshi is not that bothersome to me. But in English, it starts sounding really, really repetitive, right? So it's like, how do we diversify that a little bit while trying to keep it the same when it needs to be? So the conclusion was to change the height here in the i desu ne, so that it's not about what do you call it? Yeah, I forgot what I was saying, but anyways, it could be accurate but different, and that way that would reduce repetitive strain. I think that's what I wanted to say, at least. I don't know. But yeah, that's the two submissions that I got. I both did pass them in the end. Yeah. Let me change the window that I'm sharing. Okay, this is the translation that I made. Um, Sorry, I'm just making sure that ordered right. Group that up. Okay. So, yeah, they did a great job on the cleaning for this. Like, it's so good. Yeah. Um, okay, so, uh, what did I want to do? I wanted to go like this, and this. Okay. During the Nijihara Among Us collab, Risha died immediately and found herself alone in the afterlife with Incho. I went with afterlife instead of like graveyard or anything like that because I thought it fits. I mean, you basically do turn into a spirit, right? In Among Us. So yeah. Sorry, I'm gonna stand up for a little bit before I fall asleep. Oh no. My model is just staring into the abyss. Okay. So I did the SFXs as well because they got cleaned, right? And then I went with Awawawa for here. Um, I, Anyways, I keep getting distracted. During the Nijihara Among Us collab, Russia died immediately and found herself in the afterlife with Incho. I chose to keep it Incho here and then put a little TL note. And that's because I thought that this is pretty specific jargon that I thought people who are fans of her would know. And she actually is called Incho by her fans. And because it's a specific name, I chose to keep it like that. Ooh, I should actually replace this. I forgot about it. Well, maybe I would keep it. Um, it's a good. I like it how it's vertical actually. Anyways, it's just the two of us. I need to think of something to talk about. So this is how I rephrased it. I need to think of something to talk about. If I look back at the versions, yeah, whatever. It's okay. Let's see, what else did I change? I've been a fan of you for a while. Went through a couple of changes. Um, Instead of what was I saying? What am I trying to say? Wow, I am not operating right. Um, I had something more verbose, and I changed it up a little bit based on the feedback that I got. Which one are you talking about when you say what would you replace it with? Sorry, I didn't see that comment. I'll look. I'm trying to look at the comments as they come in. Oh, the ellipsis. You mean this? And dot dot dot, and then dot 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 found herself alone. Oh no, you're talking about this. Right. Okay, so if I was to do it really, really quickly, let me try it. So what I would do is what I would do is fill this in with white first, and then I would actually put in, because she's muted, right? So actually, yeah, wild words is fine. I would just put in a whole bunch of just, yeah, period marks, to be honest, like that. Maybe like that. Yeah, I feel like that would be okay. I don't know, maybe I'm committing blasphemy. Ugh, okay. I need to get through this before I fall asleep. Okay. Anyways, actually, maybe I will keep it like that. Is that weird? 2 ellipses in a row for what? 5 lines? Maybe this is a bad idea. I'm gonna get canceled, aren't I? Maybe just one is okay. Like that. Yeah, I mean, it looks okay, but I mean, this is sort of why I wanted to go with the raw for this, which I probably should take a cut of. Sorry, I'm trying something. Oops. What was I doing? I fainted for a second there. Yeah, so so anyways, um yeah, I was talking about these ellipses. Um I was saying that, this looks okay, but it looks kind of short. If I put 2 ellipses, I might get canceled. So that's why I thought, okay, maybe I'll just leave the raw in. Wait, I thought I created a copy of the raws. Oh, I got a clip of the raws. Oh, I got a clip of it after it got erased. Okay, let me do this instead. There you go. Okay, so that's why I thought maybe I'd just keep the raws. Usually I would replace it, but in this case I thought it was okay. Russia, you're on mute. Oh. I've been a fan of you for a while. Like that time when you saw a flyer on the way to school. So that's how I handled it. You know, a pretty dangerous, and then oh my god, this box sucks. A pretty dangerous situation where she found a flyer with her personal info on it is how I decided to reword it. I actually had a shorter before, but then I didn't like it, so I decided to translate it like this. This is pretty just. I mean, I could make it taller and skinnier by using some situation, for example. But then that sets a precedent for every other big word, and then I'm gonna have tons and tons of broken up words, and I think that just looks bad. So I think I'll keep it like this. You can tell probably that this is not centered to this bubble because of this. It's just kind of a messy situation all around. I could probably put it more on the left, like that. Like that. Maybe that's a little bit better. So it's not centered, but it's only you're gonna open with that for what Mito says here, which is like you're gonna start the conversation with saying that, you know. Yeah. What should I do at this rate? I'm not just playing an Among Us game, but a game of striking up conversations. Yeah, so I thought this was pretty straightforward. There's also this terminology of baited. 쓰라려졌다 is what Shion says, I think. Let me see. Yeah, 쓰라려졌다. I thought baited is a good English equivalent, that it's still about fishing. So yeah, that's why I went with that. You know, with this one, I really liked the typesetting. Like this stuff, and this, and this. I had a lot of fun with it, actually. I think I do like typesetting. With a little bit of subbing that I've tried, like video subbing, I don't know if I like it. But typesetting, I could definitely get used to. So that's the first page. Second page. Later on, she suddenly started doing things like talking in a manly voice, and despite being suspected by others, she worked together with Mito to defeat the imposter and finished up the collab without a hitch. So this is after it's been proofread a couple of times. This is the final result. Good evening, you look so cute. You look cute, so you can notice that the ike is erased, and also the line here is erased. And I decided not to erase it because, well, I can take more advantage of this white space. That's why I like this E in the evening, right? If I had the bubble closed up, it would actually look really tight. But because it's not, I thought it was okay to leave it like this. Yeah, there you go. I went with her real voice. Yeah. I really don't like this as well. This line, it's Matsuri. It needs to be big enough, similar to what you would see in the raws. So that. I wanted it to be. There we go. I want it to be as big as it says in the raws, like this, okay? But it didn't seem like like a good idea to put it in that line and then maybe bold it. I thought it would be better as an SFX like this, but then the problem is there's not a lot of space here. There's one SFX here, there's one here that I've already lowered down a little bit. So the only regret that I have with this is how would I have dealt with this differently? Maybe a YouTube cat video, like a, I'm like a, yeah. I don't know if you know what I mean by that, but yeah. Anyways, you know, one thing I might be able to do is make this like that, and then move it around. Yeah, I mean, it's still. I mean, I could do that, and then it's like over this SFX. Something like that. Hi, Chemi. Chemi, where is Chemi from? Oh, you're from Kazuya. Okay. Yeah, maybe this is fine. Maybe I'll leave it like this. I just didn't like how it was so long, like space-wise. Anyways. Finished up the collab without a hitch. I really did like this translation that I did myself. I thought it was a great phrase to use. Um, I wish I had, but I wish I had a proper conversation with Ito-san is all that I wrote as well for these lines. I didn't write about, like, yeah, yeah, well, anyways. Um, See you, take your seats. Take your seats is what I went with for her greeting. Take your seats. Also, and then with Rusciamo, right, that line, I decided to incorporate it into the translation like this, where it's basically I'll also say, but then cut off. Um, I thought it was okay to do that. Yeah. Anyways, there's that. Um, it's great that we were able to finish together with a send off. I'm kind of happy. Yes, I'm glad to hear that. Yes, yeah, I'm happy. So originally, I was told that all three of these expressions of joy should be different. So happy, glad, and then something else. But then, like, she basically is trying to. She deliberately repeats what she says here over here. So I thought it was okay like this. Yeah. This glow was an interesting one to typeset and redraw as well. Uh, yeah. There we go. I don't know where my mouse went for a second. But yeah, that's basically it. I don't know. I hope this was helpful. I'm super tired. I think I'm going to finalize this, upload it, and then call it a night. I was gonna do some other things, but honestly, I'm so tired. So yeah, for the two people that are here or might watch this later, um, who translated these two comics, good job. Um, it was hard, but hopefully that was an interesting experience. Yeah. So with that, good night because I need to go to sleep. There we go. Did my model go to sleep yet? There we go. Good night.